Merry Christmas Eve. Welcome to the Sci-Fi Center live from beautiful Las Vegas, Nevada on December 24th. It is indeed Christmas Eve. And right now, for those of you on the Midwest time zone, Mountain time zone, and the East time, you are guys are already into Christmas already. So Merry Christmas to all you guys. Anybody watching from down under or in Europe or other parts of the world, Merry Christmas. I know we got some Australians that tune into the Point Extra Lounge. Um, Tonight is, like I said, I promised all this week that I would do a Sci-Fi Center Live on Christmas Eve because I know what time of year it is. It's Christmas Eve, and a lot of people are sitting at home alone with their thoughts. And this is the time of night where your mind starts to drift to a place where it doesn't necessarily need to go. And all it takes is a little bit of distraction to bring you back online and let you know that whatever you're involved in right now that may not be doing you so well is only a small part of your entire existence. You have a geek like me to talk to. And just as a testament that anybody out there, whether I know who you are or not, you're worth my time. So here I am on Christmas Eve, 10 p.m. Pacific time. So let's go ahead and say hi to anybody who's in here. And you see the link right now. Inside the link, that is a link to something very special that happened earlier tonight. For Nerds Networks, you might know them, Nicotina, Zeverfed, ACS. Those guys launched at 9 p.m. my time, which is midnight East. They launched Project Justice League, and I put a link in there. You guys can go to that link. There's a donation link. They have a goal of $5,000 that they're trying to raise. They have gotten about almost 3,500. So if you feel it within you tonight, go ahead and click on that link. I'm going to go ahead and bring it up and show you a little bit of it as soon as we get going. It is for a very good cause. Donations go to American Fund for Suicide Prevention. And like I said, anybody who's, been anybody has had been touched by suicide in one way or another, whether themselves having to talk themselves out of it or get counseling for it, or somebody it's happened to. So not only does it give us an ending, which who knows if we'll ever get any type of resolution from the studio, but it gives you an ending, some type of ending to the saga that we've all been through, but it also is for a good cause. And the reason why I like it so much is it reminds me of back when this whole thing first got going, as far as finding out, that the studio had butchered Justice League, and we went on this quest to find out what the hell happened. And in that quest, we found a lot of good people, found each other, a lot of cool people that I know today. I don't think I'd be on the Point Extra Lounge had I not gotten involved in that community. I wouldn't know who Dave the Film Junkie is, and a lot of different people, Chris Wong Swinson. As we all searched out answers, we found each other. And I think that's cool. And while we were doing that all along, everybody was donating to all kinds of good causes. Everybody found community. Yeah, there's some knuckleheads in here that take everything and go to the moon with it and alienate people. We know who they are. But tonight was a reminder that the vast majority of people who got involved in all of this were just normal people looking for answers. That's it. And now here we are, normal people just looking for a resolution. We're not toxic. We're not crazy. We are just another group of people who are your customers. So, but like I said, tonight was a reminder of the good that the Snyder type community has done and continues to do. So, and this took a lot of work for them to put this together. So, as soon as I say hi to some of the people in the chat, I'm going to go ahead and show you guys a little bit of it, so to give you a taste. They just launched it live, and like I said, you can go right to that website. I posted into the chat, and I'll post it again. Protosex, hey, no problem, man. Like I said, I when it comes to the holidays, especially Christmas, like I said, this is a tough time of year for people who maybe going through certain situations, whoever you are, wherever you are. Like I said, all it takes is a little distraction to put you back on the road, even if it's just me talking nonsense for an hour or two. All right. Hey, Merry Christmas, Vince. Kinky Spinker, thanks for streaming, William. Hope you're doing great. Project Justice League was good. Yeah, just finished watching it live. I am doing fine. Like I said, there was a lot of work that went into what they did. I mean, it's amazing what they were able to accomplish. And it's not just, there's animation, there's special effects in there, there's a sound score that they put in there, and the project was done from the Zack Snyder's original storyboards. So even they'll tell you if it ever happened, if Zack were to ever come back and do it again, he'd change it because it's supposed to happen in those storyboards. But given based on what he had at the time, they were able to put together a project. It's about a 45-minute project, the Ultimate Cut, and it just basically gives you some type of ending, a logical ending. Like I said, I hope WBD, James Gunn, everybody is watching that to see that not everybody is a toxic fan. I think James Gunn already knows that, but the fact that there is a desire out there to wrap this up. We understand that they have to go forward with what they got to do, but you should never go on to the next thing without finishing the thing you're on. It's just not a good look. So hopefully this gets out there, the right people see it, and who knows what they have in store for us as far as what kind of ending they have, if they have an ending. I hope that they just don't leave things hanging, to cut and dry, cut and run. I really hope that everybody involved is smarter than that and realizes what kind of damage that would do. And like I said, it doesn't have to be people on the internet. The general fan understands when they've been left hanging, and they move on to other things a lot easier than we do. We hold on. The casual fan just moves on, and he'll do it without making a sound or making a hashtag. So let's see. Protest. Nah, not that I know. I thought we'll get anything new until New Year's, because that's when they were supposed to have. I think earlier last week they were supposed to have presented their game plan to David Zaslav, and at that point he'll give his ups or downs on it, and then they'll probably start announcing things to the general public throughout the month of January. So it's going to be a big and very important month. I hope they nail these announcements, and I hope they bring some clarity, because right now there's just a lot of gaps on everything. We have cryptic tweets from him, and we have these trades that give you enough information just to keep you. It's like a vampire. They suck enough blood to turn you into a vampire to keep you constantly dependent on them. So until we get more information and more concrete information from him, I urge people just, all these conspiracy things that people have put together in the absence of real information, disassemble all that. Let it be in fragments for right now. It does you more damage to try to connect things that have no connection and create your own truths than it does just to wait for him to fill in those blanks. Eventually we'll get some answers, and then at that point we can decide as fans if we're going to buy in or not. But until then, no fire James Gunn hashtags, none of the stupid shit. Been drinking water all day, so I might be overhydrated. All right, that dude Vince. It's midnight here. Just became Christmas. Yep. You must be in the Central Time Zone. Mountain. Yeah, Mountain. Is Mountain Central? Same thing, I think so. Hey, Jake Casali, how you doing? Merry Christmas to you too. Daniel Martin, this community is special for so many reasons, unlike the other fan community. Yeah, and like I said, all I ask is for people to focus on the people who are the vast majority of us who are not losing their minds. All right, we never thought we had to make a bunch of noise. We thought just showing up and enjoying something and paying our money for it wasn't enough. But apparently, we got to be as loud against all this other nonsense as they are, which is, I don't think is fair. But if we don't, we get labeled as as the same as some other guy. One guy casts an insult, and then the whole community is branded, which I think is stupid. So yeah, it like I said, the things like they did tonight show you that what we're capable of. And even if they had only raised $10, everything that goes towards that cause, that's paying for people to stay on hotlines, and people, instead of having to work a job, they can actually dedicate themselves to the help that AFSP provides. So it's all worth it. And like I said, this is the truth about the Snyder community, not the knuckleheads that the general, some of the YouTubers and some of the pundits like to focus on. Yeah, it's actually a full-on thing. I have the gloves and everything. It's the full-on helmet. Top and bottom comes apart. That's the chest piece. This actually turns on and off. This is his other piece. I have the lightsaber over there. There's the belt. This is actually on the wrong mannequin. I have actually another mannequin in the Star Wars section. This is going to get moved over there sooner than later, and this will be at the beginning of the Star Wars section when you move. This Batman costume, I actually have the full Batman costume as well, the cowl and everything. And we actually have a Batman section. You can't see it because it's in the center. And when you walk in and turn around, the costume will be on that mannequin. So yeah, it's a full on thing. Got the glove. I even got the boots. You can't see the boots because the frame is out. All right, let's see. All right, cool. I am doing okay. Been a pretty busy retail day for me. Christmas Eve, we just closed up at 10 o'clock. Turned the open sign off. I am dead tired because I've been here since 10 and I've been up even sooner. But like I said, I wanted to definitely do some type of stream. It may not be the full on 3 hour stream that we usually do, but I don't think it'll need to be. I think once we're done, you guys will be ready to get on with Christmas. So and same here. I celebrated Christmas with my family a couple of days ago. That's why I'll actually be at my store Christmas Day because we've already done the Christmas thing. I grew up in an Air Force family, and my dad was all over the world on any given holiday, and my mom was a flight attendant for Continental Airlines for 25 years. So there was times when me and my sister, we were of age, but we would just do Christmas, or we would celebrate Christmas. We would go to wherever they were at. So when my mom was stationed in Arizona, we would go to Arizona, wherever the old man was at, or we would celebrate Christmas in January or something like that when we were all together. So even though I know the date is significant and it's important for everybody, being in a military type family, and then myself joining and being deployed, spending a Christmas over in the other desert, the time of year is important as long as we find some time during the year to put it together. So I will be working tomorrow because I got a lot of stuff here to do and promotions to put together. But for everybody else, I'm hoping you are having a nice, relaxed, laid back Christmas and cherishing the holiday. Jake Casale, I could wish for if I could wish for one Marvel movie, it would be Spider-Man 4 with Sam Raimi and Tobey Maguire. Me personally, I want Amazing Spider-Man 3. I think that the Tobey Maguire Spider-Man, and I know you're a big Tobey Maguire fan, so am I. But I feel that at the very least, Tobey Maguire got a third movie and he got an ending. And he even icing on the cake when being in Spider-Man No Way Home. But the one Spider-Man that I thought got the most redemption out and got the most favorability out of No Way Home was Andrew Garfield, because he was the one that didn't get a third movie. And his story arc was so satisfying. I mean, him when he saves Gwen, and how what not being able to, not Gwen, MJ went, because of the way that Spider-Man's life's trajectory was changed by not being able to save her, for him to be able to save MJ and not have Tom Holland's Spider-Man carry that burden, I thought was cool. I don't cry at movies, but I almost teared up when he teared up. But if I got Tobey Maguire, another movie with Tobey Maguire in it, for some reason, I wouldn't turn it down. I like Tobey Maguire. Spider-Man 2 is, I think, one of the great superhero sequels of all time. And it is, in my opinion, it's number 2 overall as far as Spider-Man movies goes. Number 1 is No Way Home. Number 2 is Spider-Man 2. Number 3 is Spider-Man, and number 4 is No Way Home. But Into the Spider-Verse is number 1 for me, if I didn't put that out there right, because that's just my favorite overall movie. But my favorite live action Spider-Man movie is Spider-Man 2. Spider-Man 2 is one of the great all-time comic movies, period. So that's Tobey Maguire. It's high up on the list for me. Larry, how you doing? Merry Christmas. It's Festivus. Yeah. I got a lot of grievances with you people. Like I said, it's the only Seinfeld I know. Sorry. That and Lorraine's Dance. So there you go. All right, guys saying hi to each other. Jade, Merry Christmas. Merry Christmas to you, Jade. Merry Christmas. Larry. Let's see. Nah, I've been airing grievances. I really don't have too many. I have disappointments. I don't have grievances that much. Because like I said, every time I get caught up in some BS, I'm reminded how just fucking worse things could be. So I just kind of dial it back a little bit. So the Festivus is hilarious. So Merry Christmas to you, Toronto, Freddie. All right, Daniel Martin, cheers, bro. All right. Yeah, I was quite worried when I saw the headline for Max's Scream. I was worried. I'm like, oh man, Max is not taking this well. He hasn't been taking this well all week. And I see his thumbnail, and I'm like, oh my goodness, he has all the trigger topics on there. The boycott, and like I said, I don't advocate boycotting anything at this point. I don't advocate boycotting anything, period. But if I think the best thing we could do is wait and see. We don't have all the information. And I just analyzed the situation today to realize just how much information we don't have. Yeah, we know Cavill's not going to be his universe of Superman, but doesn't mean that there's not going to be another Cavill movie to wrap things up. We don't know that. I'm not saying that's the case, but we don't know that. We know that there's not going to be a Wonder Woman 3 as far as, Patty Jenkins goes. But he also put out there that, why is this going around that we booted Gal? And there's been enough that things that he's kind of like put fires out. He's given us riddle answers, but at the same time, people are drawing conclusions in the spaces in between, and that's not good for us. All right, we're going to drive ourselves over a cliff trying to figure out what's going on in his mind. It's best to just let him tell us, and at some point, he's going to have to. So, could there be a full reboot? I hope not, because you know how I feel about reboots. Could there be some type of realignment? I don't know. I mean, like I said, he hasn't put out enough information yet for us to go off on the deep end yet. And as far as these 4 movies that are coming out that seem to be headed to a dead end, I don't know for a fact that they are. Who knows? You know what? Like I said, with 1 or 2 tweets, he could change all of this and have us feeling a lot better about the situation than a lot of people are. So when I see Max's stream and I saw Max's previous stream, I was Max was in the chat, but he wasn't actually on the stream. And like I said, I don't know if this is going to be good for his mental health on a Christmas Eve. So I thought I would jump in there. Like I said, a lot of conversation was there to be had. What I try to do every time I'm on anybody's stream is try to bring a perspective that, may not be there, not to demean or say whoever's on the screen is stupid, but we're thinking about things from a point of view that we existed at. Most fans have never existed at a point of view where they're involved with anything as like a promotion of a movie or dollars and cents or things like that. These ideas and everything all sound great until somebody has to pay for them. And just making a great movie sounds great on a Hallmark card until it doesn't make enough money and your stockholders get kind of antsy like they've done before. So you just have to provide a perspective of that, keep things grounded to the point where there's no guarantee that if there's a reboot, it's going to work. The odds are against it. Most reboots fail, and the reboots have built-in failure into them simply because when you're doing a reboot, it's because something horribly happened before and you didn't have the mental discipline or the desire to fix that. So you just, lazily give up on everything and start new. The problem is there's people, there are casualties involved with that. And those are people who have bought into your brand for the last 5, 6, 7, 8 years. And it doesn't just stop with them. It extends to the people who are looking to jump into your brand now. If they see this kind of disorganization, there's just too many options for them. So this is a complex situation, but like I said, I think that people, anybody who thinks that rebooting is a good idea, I don't think is thoroughly thinking about the consequences. They're thinking about the fanboy consequences. They're not thinking about the real life consequences, and they're not analyzing why these things fail most of the time. So when you throw out these words, just understand there's more to it than that. So, and anybody who would expect the other way for them to come in and inherit a situation, like I said, I understand where they're coming from and what they have to do. I just hope that they do it in a way that creates lineage between their brand new fans that they're hoping to attract and the ones that are already here, so that you can make as much money as possible. And when you make the money, you keep the shareholders happy. When you keep the shareholders happy, they don't put the heat on Zaslav. And if there's no heat on Zaslav, we don't have to do this whole rebooting thing 3 years from now. because if you fuck it up, that's where we're going to be. And it might take even longer because you've just done that much more damage to the brand. So I'm open-minded to allow them to do what they need to do, put out the information. Worst case scenario is I take a look at it, and I don't like it, and I don't come back. Best case scenario is I find something I like, and I dive in. But right now, there's no information to go out of the way. I am not going to tell you to not go see, these 4 movies. More than likely, I will not, because I am a fan that buys into the shared universe. I'm not a standalone film guy. I don't mind there being standalone films, but I am a comic book guy. The shared universe was created by DC. If they could do shared universe movies in the 80s and 90s, and if they had the tech, the money, and everything else, they would have done these movies like this 40 years ago. But they're doing them now. That is the modern era of storytelling as far as cinematically finally catching up to the way comic books have been telling stories for 80 years. So I go to a comic book movie like this to be led into the next one, especially for these movies that are part of a shared universe. If they had been marketed and created as standalones, different story. But these are movies, all 4 of these movies exist within the same universe that you might be concluding. So first I have to know, is there going to be a conclusion like that? How is that conclusion going to come about? What are you planning on doing with these characters that people have invested time in? Because people don't like to have their time wasted. So there's too many questions right now for me to give you a definitive answer or what they should do as far as their movie going. And at the end of the day, it is an individual decision. You have to take a look at that and decide, once you get the answers, is this something you want to jump into again? If it's a full-on reboot, it's a very fair question, a very legit question for you to ask yourself. Do I want to go on this ride again after the exhausting one I just been on? That is a question that I cannot answer for you, and I don't have any enough information to even answer it for myself right now. All right, so yeah, Max stream was fun. That's pretty much what I put out on his stream. Whew, why am I dude? We're 24 minutes in. I'm already dry again. All right, Feliz Navidad. Okay, wow. Prospero. Oh no. Okay, Feliz da. Okay, I'm butchering that, but I know what you mean. William, I hope the new year will help you see that Deckard is human. No. You realize I've had a lot of time to discuss this with myself and other Blade Runner heads, don't you? He's a replicant. And when 2049 came out, that pretty much cemented it for me. He was the prototype of what will be the future. So, but like I said, we could go on that for years, and Ridley Scott doesn't help. Really, man, I see the original film again, and maybe it will see that. I saw the ultimate, the international cut, which is the original film with everything added. He's a replicant. We're gonna do a stream on that one of these days. One of the mini streams we have to get to. Why Deckard is a replicant. We'll probably go for like 3 hours on that one. Jade, yeah, I saw that. With all due respect to Nicolas Cage, Academy Award winner, I like some of the movies he's been in. I am grateful that movie never saw the light of day. I heard what was in the script. I see how it looks. And yeah, no. I think that would have been bad for the Superman brand if that movie would have ever seen the light of day, to be honest with you. That's just my opinion. Yes, Larry, I was watching it live with Anthony, AC, ACS, and all the people from 4 Nerds. I was watching on their screen, and I had it pulled up on mine. I'm gonna, like I said, as we get in, I'm gonna actually have the screen here. I'm gonna play some of it for you guys. I do urge you guys. I'm gonna put that link in the chat again. I do urge you guys to whatever you can donate to the cause, if you can, to go ahead and do that. I mean, whatever you can do, I don't think there's not a minimum, because I think every bit helps. So I just put that back in there again. But yeah, I watched it as it premiered, and I had Andre Nicotina on a couple of nights ago to promote it. So to make sure everybody knew what was happening. All right. How you doing, Krampus? What is your name going to be now once Christmas is over? I'm horrified to know. Yeah, it's pretty good storyboard, motion comic, and some special effects in there. And then they actually show you the storyboards while they're reading from them. It was kind of cool. So I was really Oh, you mean Elaine? Oh, from yeah. I don't, dude. I never got Seinfeld. I think I watched 60 minutes total of Seinfeld in my life. One of them was where that clown, I guess it was Kramer, was swimming across the Hudson River, and he smelled real bad. That the other one was Elaine's dance, and I forgot some of the other stuff. I just never got the humor of that show. I just wasn't for me. But you know, it's I see it everywhere. So Krampus, yeah, he's Krampus Rebus. The fandom is united in hating Gunn. You know what? Yeah, and that may not be a good thing. I mean, I'm not saying it won't be tied. I don't hate is a strong word. I'm not saying it won't be tied at some point. It will be time to go knives out on figuratively with all this stuff. But I just don't think there's enough information out there. Everybody, like I said, they're connecting things that may not be connected. So, and I just don't think it's good for our us mentally to do that yet. All right, your point, William. Tobey Maguire felt more like comic book Spider-Man. Then your guy at least got to save Zendaya for exemption. Yeah. I mean, like I said, I like all the Spider-Man. Holland was my least favorite Spider-Man simply because I didn't think he was portrayed as a Spider-Man that I could connect with until No Way Home. And I look forward to seeing Holland's next step now that he's been disassociated and he's no longer an errand boy for the Avengers. So I look forward to your friendly neighborhood Spider-Man. But see, I had that right out of the gate with Maguire, and I had that with Andrew Garfield. Andrew Garfield had a bad sequel, but see, Andrew Garfield got screwed by timing. That deal with Sony and Tom Holland was for Civil War. That superseded everything. That's pretty much what ended him, because I think his movie made over 700 million. I mean, a lot of people didn't critically like it, but a lot of people didn't critically like Spider-Man 3, and it made a ton of money. And there's always been people for 20 years wanting a Spider-Man 4. I think if it hadn't been for the deal between Sony and Disney, you would have seen a Spider-Man 3, because there would have been no reason for them not to do it. But like I said, No Way Home, I still think they should do a Spider-Man, Amazing Spider-Man 3. All right. Yes, I saw that. This Man City Taylor. Yeah, Eddie was hosting it. Max was in the chat. I think Max was on there for a couple of minutes, but Eddie hosted it, and he did a pretty good job. I mean, like I said, everybody had a lot of questions, and like I said, there's still a lot of questions out there. But at the same time, all I wanted to remind people is we don't know shit yet. We know some things, and right now, I will agree with all of them on that panel that this has been handled horribly. Regardless to what the outcome is, this has been handled horribly PR wise. This has been fumbled, and I think they could have done a better job of laying out their plan. I think that they should have given Gunn his starting point, and everything he wanted to do with that is fine. And I think the remaining characters, they should have found a way to consolidate, cut down, and put a final resolution on the things that came before. That should not be James Gunn, because what that does, if he's not going to do something like an alignment, what that does is that puts the stain on his hands on having to cut loose, all that time we invested in order to put his thing in. Whereas Abdi and DeLuca should have gone on and done what they needed to do in the universe, and whether that bring them all back for a little mini series or one big thing or a cartoon or whatever the fuck you needed to do. They needed to do that, and that needed to be their territory. And whatever Gunn is doing needed to be from a certain time forward, because the way they've handled it is, regardless to how good the stuff he puts out, presentation is everything. Presentation is everything, and so far the presentation isn't good. So yeah, and Nicolas Cage, I love you, man, but yeah, no. All right, I think he's going to keep the Suicide Squad cast, and maybe Gal and Levi and reboot everyone else, which is going to piss off a lot of people. A lot of people, if you're not going to do a full reboot, then why are you getting rid of the most marketable thing that you have right now going forward? But with Superman, but who knows? Like I said, it's the way this has been rolled out. He's in a lose situation, so he might at this point. He has no real choice but to go forward. So I mean, hopefully, like I said, there's more information to come out that will set the table so that we can have something to look at. Because right now, I think there's been a lot of things that are just not true that have been put out. We don't know what's going on with Gal Gadot. We don't know what's going on with Zachary Levi. He seems to think he's going to be around a while, but that might not necessarily be true. Who knows? But I think if there is genuine hatred for James Gunn, if he reboots the universe and just keeps his characters, I think that's going to undermine anything that he does for going forward, because nobody's going to give him. First of all, the characters that he keeps, most people don't know who they are. That's why they perform poorly at box offices, because they don't, people buy into these IPs and the stories behind them, the familiar IPs, not the no names. So yeah, if he keeps those and reboots from there, I don't see that as a winnable situation. And be honest with you, the 10-year plan, he's under a 4-year contract. So the 10-year plan only matters if you can get through 10 years. All right. That's why I appreciate you on streams, William, because you don't feed into the echo chamber and provide. Yeah, I try to, because like I said, we're doing damage right now. During all this time, we're tying ourselves into unnecessary knots. Like I said, let's wait until there's something. And like I said, it costs you $0.0 not to engage in any of this. If you don't think it's going to go down, if it's not going to be something consistent, what you want to spend your time on, you have the option to do what the casual fan does on a normal basis, which is just to quietly walk away and engage when they see something. You know what? Like I said, we don't have to protest. We don't have to hashtag. We don't have to call for anybody's termination. You can just simply walk away. They do it all the time. We don't hear them do it because they don't hang out in Twitter. They don't hang out in chat rooms. They just don't show up. And to me, that's the most damning damage you can have, is when you never even get that feedback of how you could have kept that customer, because you confuse him to the point he just chose an easier option to go to. And right now, everything's an easier option to figure out than DC films, unfortunately. Let's see, Toronto. Remember, everyone, I know when you're sleeping, I know when you're awake. Okay, that sounds like a cat burglar, but all right. Marcus Cruz, welcome back. Question, William, do you think that there will be a variant of Namor in the MCU who is comic accurate, maybe Council of Namor? No. I don't think they're going to put another Namor that is going to go contrary to Horta. Maybe they will. I don't know. I mean, I can't read MCU's mind, but they just made an investment in this guy, and I actually like the Namor that they have in there. And like I said, Marvel don't always do things comic book accurate anyway. I mean, look at the Celestials. Look at Civil War. I mean, they use the loose, framework of the storylines we know, but then they just do whatever the hell they want anyway. So, but no, I don't think they'll. Well, let me take that back. There could be a variant when they do this whole Secret Wars spaghetti mess. So that if it happens, it will be that point. But I don't think that Namor would be the prime Namor. I think you might see an appearance by a Namor, but I don't think they would. He wouldn't be around long enough to have a council of Namors or anything like that. That's just what I'm thinking, Marcus. I don't find it like really earlier. I say absolutely. Merry Christmas, Jared. All right, and then there's my links that I put in there. I'm hoping we get Amazing Spider-Man 3 and Tobey's 4, even though I didn't like. Not a lot of people. 3 was just a crowded movie. There was just too much going on. Also, did you hear the rumor that Adamantium will be introduced into the MCU from Celestial, from Eternals? No, I didn't, but that sounds plausible. That sounds very plausible. Yeah, I'm going to be on for quite a while. This is our overnight show. So I usually go well into I usually wrap it up when we cross over into the next morning. So I got maybe an hour and a half, depending on how things go. All right. Believe in the reboot play. Nah, like I said, that's like saying believe in the tourniquet. If you have to apply one, you've already lost the leg or the limb. So don't don't believe in a reboot. And, even if it's something that has to happen, it's not a positive thing. And people will try to blow snow in your face telling you reboots are positive and this is a new beginning. No, it doesn't work that way. And DC is infamous for bad reboots and bad decision making with reboots. So you can praise Gunn, but believing in a reboot, nah, never put reboot in a positive light. It is a nuclear option when you've run out of options, or you no longer have the mental capacity to deal with what you inherited. And instead you just want to blow everything up. But remember, when you're hitting a self-destruct, you're still destroying something. And that something still meant something to a lot of people, both casual and upper end. So be careful there. Aquaman, MILF Magnet. Well, my theory is Hydra created the Weapon X program, and the Winter Soldier is Weapon X, Weapon One. Like that sounds plausible. That sounds like something that would fit and be consistent with what MCU is doing right now. Because they got a lot of roads to draw to from what people know traditionally, and what they plan on lining up in their story. So that's a very plausible way for them to be able to pull it on. Dude, come on. See, here we go. Eddie, it's a Christmas miracle. Yeah, hey Eddie, sir. I don't even know if that's the real Eddie, but hey, what's up, Eddie? Seems like I just saw you a couple hours ago. Oh yeah, I did. I see you a couple hours ago. Another Festivus miracle. Okay, Eddie, you've just elevated yourself to Festivus miracle. All right, let's see. I actually thought Neymar was the best part of it. He was. As much as I wanted to like that movie, there was just too many. I did like it, but I did not love it, and it wasn't. It wasn't in the same league as the original one. Obviously, you did a Black Panther movie, and you were missing the Black Panther, and you were missing the character that played him. So it was there were some empty spots in that movie where you could feel there needed to be a Black Panther there. So that's a point of argument. They should have done a Neymar movie instead. They can't. I think Universal owns the rights to Neymar as a solo movie. They can make it, but Universal will be the ones distributing it, and which means they will be the ones making the money. And I don't think Marvel wants to get themselves into another Spider-Man situation. They when they do their characters, they probably want all the money. That's why you haven't seen a solo Incredible Hulk movie. All right, happy. I almost said Happy Halloween. What the hell? Happy holidays to you too, Sith Holocron, Krampus, Jeebus. No. Read the comics, Marcus. The Weapon Plus program is all about recreating super soldiers. Yeah. And then the Ultimates, remember everything was about, we're about to try to replicate that. But like I said, even though that's in the comics, they have a history of doing their own thing to fit their own narrative. They give you a loosely based story that's rooted in the comic books, but at the same time, they're trying to tell their story. So they get they take a lot of liberties when it comes to that. So just because there's something set in the comics that way, doesn't necessarily when the screenplay happens that they're going to do it that way. Weather outside is happy Festivus, everyone. Yeah, you guys are getting into the minutia now. you guys are actually talking in two different universes if you want to be specific. Because with the conversation you're having, actually, if you want to be forward, the last Secret Wars literally it originated in two different types of universes. And the Ultimates is a big part of how Marvel tells their stories. All right. BVS isn't canon anymore. Best present I got for Christmas. See, now you're trolling. Now I know this is original. And we don't know that. Like I said on your stream today, we don't know what's canon or not. We're putting things together in our head that have not been put together by the people who are actually doing this yet. So dial it back a little bit before you start opening up those presents. Yes, I did. But once again, I mean, they've taken bits and pieces from the Ultimate Universe, 616, and whatever they've needed to tell their story. I mean, every aspect of Marvel in many ways, I mean, they've done what they needed to do, especially the further away they get from Iron Man, Thor, or Captain America, Hulk. They're, Spider-Man. Come on, what Spider-Man never had anything to do with Iron Man, yet he was his pet for the first 6 years of his existence. The Celestials, the Eternals weren't robot people. I mean, they do what they want. They take the basic framework and they do what they want. Sometimes it works out, sometimes it doesn't. But I understand. Technically, yeah. Like I said, we're going over different interpretations that are not going to apply when it comes to Marvel, because they're just going to look at it and be like, I'm going to take that. It's going to be like an a la carte menu. They're going to take this, and this is what we're going to use, and that's our story. It's like Civil War. The basic hallmarks of Civil War were there, but that's not how Civil War rolled out. I mean, and same thing is going to be probably with Secret Invasion. It's going to be weird. It's going to be. I'm looking forward to Secret Invasion, but we know how Secret Invasion is read out in the comic. I don't think they're going to be able to pull that off. In the show, because there's a lot of elements that they've never even introduced into any of these movies or shows that that are in Secret Invasion. So, but they'll stick to the premise. I'll be fine with that. All right, yeah, the MCU kind of substituted Vibranium for Adamantium because the rights still belong to Fox. Yeah, because of it was part of a Adamantium was brought in, I think, through Lorraine, and so that's why. How you doing, Sri? Long time no hear. It's a good bet. I mean, shit, they've created everything else. I think MCU actually confirmed that Captain America was Weapon 1 and some promotional stuff online years ago. Yeah, but like I said, Marvel has the luxury. They do stuff, and they realize that people are focused on the now. They're not going to go back and give them shit over that. That may be true, but they know that the narrative is now, so they know it, and their fans, for the most part, will eat it up. All right, Darcibio William, I would love to be on any Blade Runner stream you do, as long as the panels as even pro and cons, as I know I will prevail. No, screw you. I make the rules here. No, I'm just kidding. No, because we'll get Thade, and Thade will want to side with you, and I'll have to get rid of both of you. So, like I said, we haven't done a Blade Runner panel in a while, but like I said, we did one for the 40th anniversary. We did a Blade Runner a show, 40th anniversary show, a couple of months back. It was me, Thade, Scott McClellan from Vodka Stream. He was on there, so we had a lot of fun with that. Can't believe it's been 40 years, and since Blade Runner. Now, and then I've gotten a sequel, and I got a TV show on the way. I'm happy. That's my Christmas present for the year. I'm wishing you all. Yeah, that's what he does. Eddie's like Eddie is a professional troll. That's what Eddie does. Yep, there he goes. That's how you can tell the difference if there's a real one and a fake one in there. And when he starts trolling, there you go. Yeah, you can't make Justice League canon, so you're in a tough spot. But then again, we're all going to have to wait and see what these new guys do. All right, rolling. Keep asking Sandy. Yeah. Eddie probably trick or treats too. Grown ass man. All right. How you doing, Integrity? Always about coffee, Larry. Yep, coffee is life. No next snap. Superman or gun wielding Batman and DCU. You actually think that James Gunn is going to give you some peaceful superheroes that don't kill. Have you seen James Gunn's movies? I think James Gunn has accepted the reality of that a lot of major directors have is you're going to protect the planet. You're probably going to have to do some killing. You know, still inevitable. Yep. My inner agent Cooper completely agrees with you, Siri. Hello, William. How you doing, Integrity? The reason why She-Hulk is fucking atrocious is because Hulk doesn't belong to Marvel. Hulk doesn't belong to Marvel in a singular form. So whenever Hulk is there, he has to be part of something else. So he has to be part of the Avengers. He has to be with Thor. He has to be Universal owns the distribution rights to a Hulk movie, so they can use him as a group. But when he's singular, when he's the Hulk, by himself, you couldn't put him into a movie. You could produce that movie, but then Universal would get the bulk of the money because they would be distributors. Because back when Marvel was going through its bankruptcy days, they saved themselves by selling off a lot of their IPs, as far as movies goes, to other companies, some of which still have those. Sony is never giving us Spider-Man. Hulk, maybe, because it's not the Hulk has never been a big financial generator for Universal. They just have the rights, but at the same time, Sony's makes a ton of money off of owning the Spider-Man rights, so you'll never see that happen. Okie dokie, and let's see. But She-Hulk missed it a lot. I thought it was funny in some things, but a lot of the MCU TV shows let me down. I liked Moon Knight though, and I liked Loki. I did not like Hawkman. I did not like WandaVision. I thought it was just plotting. I did like Falcon and Winter Soldier. So everybody's going to be different on that one. Yeah, you do. James Gunn is all about violence. Yeah. He doesn't shy away from it. I'm not saying that he's going to handle these things in complete violence and it's going to be like a trauma movie, but violence has always been in his tool bag. And be honest with you, when you're telling superhero movies, why not? Jacob McKenzie, William, do you think Warner Brothers' biggest regrets in cutting 30 minutes from BVS plot, cutting the China release date early? That second one, definitely. Yeah, both of those played into there because it began a pattern of second guessing that would never relieve them and would cost them dearly. That was the beginning. BBS, it was the beginning of them second guessing and listening to people that they had no business listening to. And like I always tell you, it's good to admire the Marvel car and it's good to want something, sort of like the Marvel car, but you got to drive your own car. You cannot drive your own car while you're looking over at the dashboard of Marvel. You will crash your car. And that's exactly what DC did, is instead of focusing on their product and focusing on the traits and characteristics of what it means to be a DC character and to make a DC movie, they couldn't take their eyes off of the Marvel product, and they ran into a pole. And them cutting BVS and doing all that nonsense with the China release, and then obviously what happened with Justice League, that was something that they paid dearly for, and that is something that we're still paying for today, even Gunn to a certain extent. Because if that had gone right, if they had shown some balls and stood behind their creator and stuck with their plan, James Gunn and Peter Safran wouldn't be the head of DC right now because there would be no need for them to be here. So yeah, biggest regret right there, huge regret. So let's see. I am going to use the restroom real quick, but while I'm doing that, I am going to show you just a snippet of this Project Justice League. I really do want you guys to go over. I put the link in the website several times, and I'll do it a couple times before we go off the air. But I do want you guys to get a snippet of this. I'm just going to show you a couple minutes while I run into the bathroom, and then I'm going to come back, and then we'll continue. So here we go. All right, so get that out of there and go full screen and bing.
Meanwhile, deep in the Brazilian jungle, Lex locates Dr. Maru, last seen in Wonder Woman, still alive, experimenting on herself, prolonging her life and testing new chemical weapons on unfortunate human lab rats. Like an obsessed stalker, Maru has spent decades collecting information and artifacts on Diana and the Amazons. Now that Diana has become known to the world, Lex offers Maru a chance at revenge. The same revenge he wants on Diana's friends, Superman and Batman. Maru accepts. Lex smiles.
Let it begin.
In the Atacama Desert, with Maru's help, Lex breaks Orm and Black Manta out of the desert prison where they were imprisoned at the end of Aquaman. Outside of Central City, in Iron Heights Penitentiary, Lex finds Len Snart, where he was left in the Flash, and offers Len a chance to advance his weaponry and take down the fastest man alive.
Do you remember those Saturday morning cartoons, Mr. Snart? You know, the one where that wily coyote could never quite catch that little birdie he was after. What that silly old coyote lacked was a partner. Now imagine, someone came along and provided him the upgrades that he needed. He could surely say a big bye-bye to dropping anvils and rogue bolters.
Is there a point to all this rambling?
Well, it seems at this point, any attempts to catch the fastest man alive.
All right, I'm back, but yeah, that's Project Justice League. Once again, I'm going to drop the link in the chat once more, just for some of you guys who came along late and are watching it live. I'm going to probably add it into the bio when I get a chance. Along with it, I got to get a permanent. AFSP link too, because I want that to be up there. Jacob McKenzie, William, what will happen if Jeff Robinoff never left WB and he let Zach do what he wanted and finish his storyline because Zach was going to do Man of Steel 2, Warner Brothers Force Man, Superman? I still think Robinoff would have. I'm of the train of thought. I don't believe that Man of Steel needed a solo sequel as the very next movie, because that's not the story arc you were headed towards. I wouldn't have done a Man of Steel sequel until after the Darkseid storyline was over to begin with. BVS was the logical next step in that storyline, because that storyline was leading to an ultimate ending. I didn't need a solo Superman movie yet, because you were forming the Justice League, and the Justice League is formed around Superman and Batman. So to me, I had no problem. I think Romanoff would have kept that schematic the same, because, like I said, you don't. Not everybody needed to follow the Marvel formula of doing a bunch of solo movies to get to a certain point, especially when your solo characters are Batman and Superman. Cut to the chase and start telling the heart of the story. So I never had a problem with that. But I do think if Romanoff would have stayed and not been passed over for Tishihara, who's a piece of shit, we would already be done. Zach would have gotten, you would have had your Man of Steel, Batman versus Superman, and your 3 Justice League movies. That was the 5 story arc, and as you can see how things would have probably ended. That would have been a finite story, and that would have allowed the directors like Juan and Jing, everybody else who was working on these solo projects, that would have allowed them to go on and develop things in their own way. But the core story was already there. Justice League was the attraction. So setting up Justice League first was the right thing to do. And even James Gunn is going to have to get to the chase, because the first superhero group must be featured sooner than later. The whole reason the Justice League exists is it's called a force multiplier. It helps push other characters. I've done the study. 63% of all characters have come through either Justice League character comic or Justice League itself. they are the engine that drives the DC connected universe. So that you get to Justice League as soon as you can, in my opinion. But yeah, there would have been some differences. If we would have the difference between Romanoff being there and the clowns that followed him, we would be done. We wouldn't have had I might not even be here because I would have never met Enosh or any of those guys because that leadership wouldn't have screwed up Justice League. We would have gotten the proper justice. We would be done already. And if there needed to be any type of reset, we wouldn't be doing it with an incomplete story haunting us. So yeah, there you go. Okay. Let's see. What are you guys talking about renting? Let's see. I see. Guys, don't fall for it. Don't. If you know who Eddie is, don't fall for that trolling madness he does. It took me a while when I first started watching Eddie's little streams and little videos. I'm like, what the fuck is wrong with this guy? Then it just clicked on me. I don't know why it took me more than 5 minutes. This guy's trolling. And I just, once you realize he's trolling, then you kind of have fun with it. He's a knucklehead sometimes. I see some people take his trolls and they're ready to put out a hit on the guy. I'm like, dude, calm down. All right. What are we renting for $20? Okay, I hope we're not doing anything illegal on the stream. I don't want to be evidence. This just reminded me, seeing Superman in the black suit making eye contact with Darkseid in Zack Snyder's Justice League. It may be the coolest thing I've ever seen. Perfect depiction of him sizing off the potential threat. Yep. All right, yeah, there's the YouTube link for you guys to take a look at and that's my Facebook page. Woohoo. All right. Okay. You guys let me know what you guys are talking about renting because it sounds like fun. Am I invited? Whoever did Lex's voice, plus I heard they got Sam Benjamin for Hal Jordan's voice. I got to look at the credits because I finished watching it and then I was watching their stream and I got onto mine. Zach delivered $1 billion BVS. The studio blundered the theatrical release. General audience were coming off of Nolan's BK $2 billion Bat films. Dark Knight Rising being 2 hours and 45 minutes. Not bring. Yeah, and like I said, that management we could write a novel of the fuck up after fuck up after fuck up that they did. We really could. Yeah, we could, and like I said, they are why we are here now, right? The reason why we even have the necessity of new management, new ownership is because those guys on a much larger scale than just the comic book movies fuck things up on a unbridled scale. Wish I had a time machine. I don't know if I know they were intending on using Ray Porter's voice, but I don't know if he was involved this time around. I gotta watch it again because I was watching it while I was watching it with them. So, but he was on the vodka stream the other night. I think he started. I have to get back with you on that, guys. Facts, Larry. What about Larry? What Larry? Let's see. Sometimes I can't tell if you guys are talking to each other or me. All right, Krampus. I want a JSA movie with Sylvester Stallone. It's like, you know what, dude? By the time you got that movie, he would be 80. He's 75 now. A good-looking 75, but damn. how much you want him to do? How old is the Wildcat character anyway? I mean, I guess the modern era could be, maybe, who knows? Integrity 101, Larry One Production. So I don't know what's going on there. Hey, Film Goblin. Hey, William. Sorry for holding you up. I just wanted to get my thoughts out. No, that's fine. I wasn't gonna jump on that stream because I thought it was gonna get, like I said, Max hasn't been taking it as well. So I just wanted to be there to be like, hey, Max, things are okay, man. And everybody, and for that extension, we're in a holding pattern right now, and we're just wondering what's going to happen. And like I told everybody else, disassemble everything that you're trying to put together in your head right now. And it is natural. It is human nature for people to try to piece together the tea leaves, even though they don't always go together. Everybody wants to put together the puzzle when they don't have all the pieces. We don't have all the pieces right now. And there could be some legitimate pieces that we're missing that we don't know about that are yet to be announced that could change this thing all around. I mean, everybody jumped off the cliff based on a couple of announcements. We could climb back up based on a few more. So I just tell people until it's time to hate, we're sitting back. It is costing us $0 to sit on the sidelines and watch for right now. January is going to be interesting, though. Oh, yeah, Violent Night. Dude, that's just, I understand why it's on demand. It's on Hulu, or it's on demand already. I just saw that in the movie theaters, man. That's why my hat. It's Violent Night. You can see the blood on it. Oh, man, that movie was, oh, my God. My new favorite Christmas movie. I'm glad we were able to give away stuff. We gave away some shirts. We gave away some of these hats. Gingerbread. I ate the gingerbread cookies. I'm going to admit it right now. Because by the time I found out they were real and they were edible, I'd already passed out stuff. So I ate the headless gingerbread cookies that are in the movie, by the way. And I still have. I gave away posters and sent people to the movies. And then I went and saw it myself because my schedule did not allow. Holy shit, that movie is violent as fuck. It is, and once the violence starts, it does not stop. It just keeps coming and going. And it's everything that should have happened to those clowns in Home Alone when shit hits them on the head and bowling balls and when they get blown up. The stuff that's supposed to happen to your human body when those things do happen to you happens in Violent Night. And there's one scene, and I'm not going to spoil it for anybody. I have watched over 4 decades of horror movies. There's not much that you can show me that'll be like, I'll be like, that's cute. Congratulations. Good effect. There is a bodily harm, and I won't tell you what it was. And please don't spoil it in the chat if you know. That had me jumping out of my reclined chair. I was reclined in the movie theater, and when this scene happens, I'm like, oh, shit. And I jumped up, and I almost went over the side. Popcorn and all. And that's me. I do nothing but follow the path of the 3Ds. All right. Death, dismemberment, and destruction. This movie gives it to you. It may have given it to me too much. All right. I mean, in the amount of time once the listen, without spoiling it, they kill so many people in this movie that they have to bring in a whole other group of people just to kill. That's how much killing is happening in this movie. Any manner of ways for people to die, they die in this movie. It is beautiful. It is my new favorite Christmas movie. If you haven't seen Violent Night, dude, go see it. Watch it on demand. I mean, it was. I mean, and they're killing people to Christmas music. Santa's killing people, and there's a Bryan Adams getting the shit kicked out of him. Beautiful. I almost teared up. Yeah, Violent Night, boy, yeah. Oh. I am going to be on for quite a bit. I might be here till about 12:30, 1 o'clock Pacific time. So right now, I got at least at the very minimum another hour to go, but I can talk forever. So my little Midnight Express show, that's only supposed to be an hour, ends up being an hour and a half average. So there you go. Until those eyelids fall off. Yeah, I got a lot of rest. So, yeah, favorite Christmas movie is Violent Night. William Warner Brothers said J.J. Abrams' Superman is still happening. Why? I have no answers for you. I don't know why that movie will be going forward. But he also threw out the Elseworlds card too. I mean, he didn't give a lot of information on it, but he did answer someone's tweet in regards to Elseworlds. So who knows? Like I said, just that possibility of Elseworlds involved brings about so many things. It could also be a tool to bring about the resolution of the previous universe. Who knows? I'm not guaranteeing that, but just wait and see. And then this Superman story could still be happening under that guise, if it's happening at all. That's what I would assume. Eyes Wide Shut is Eyes Wide Shut at Christmas. Listen, guys, no, come on. You cannot have a Stanley Kubrick movie as a Christmas story. The first scene of a Christmas movie, I think one of the things you got to be able to take, well, no, because you can't take a family to Violent Night. You'll fuck up their brains. The first scene of Eyes Wide Shut is a woman's bare ass, Nicole Kidman. The first scene. Credits roll, bam, first scene. That's a Christmas movie? Oh, man, I think they go to a Christmas party. Oh, by the way, for those of you in the chat and those of you who will watch this for in the future, Die Hard is not a Christmas movie. I want you everywhere in the world that you're at right now, sitting in front of your computers, I want you to scream out loud. I don't care who's around you. Die Hard is not a Christmas movie. All right? I don't care how much eggnog you drink, how much spike punch you have. Die Hard is not a Christmas movie. I said it. I'm a Bad Santa guy. Funny movie. Bad Santa's all right, but like I said, for me, for my type of sensibilities, oh my goodness, Violent Night. All right, I'm late to the party. Merry Christmas. Well, no, we're right in the middle of the party. Merry Christmas to you, fun. Violent Night is up there for sure. Oh yes. Jingle All the Way, All Day. I've seen that one. How you doing, Hal Jordan? Listen, Hal Jordan's Green Lantern could never be late for anything. He'd be the savior. All right, Krampus. I saw Violent Night on a watch party earlier today. What'd you think of it, Jeebus? You know the scene I'm talking about. That scene, I almost, I guess it takes a lot to get me to turn away from any of the 3Ds. My goodness. All right, let's see. Larry Cock, Merry Christmas, Mondo again. Yeah. I knew you were telling me you were going to go ahead and see it the other day, Mondo. So yeah, the things you can do with household tools or Viking tools, for that matter. And like I said, there is an awesome backstory to him. They could give me one of these every year. There's enough. They give you enough story to leave you with. If they came out with if this was an annual event for me, I'm there, man. I am there. It, that this will be a Christmas tradition. I don't mind partaking in, because I walked out of that movie breathless. And like I said, I don't do this kind of shit in a movie theater. It's not me. But there are some scenes where I'm like, holy fuck, did they just do that? Oh, and John Leguizamo is great in this. I never thought that of all the movies he's been good in, this would be one of my favorite. His other favorite movie that he's been in is a sorely underrated movie, Romeo and Juliet, with Leonardo DiCaprio and Claire Danes. I love that movie. I'm not soft. I love Shakespeare, and that movie is great, and he's in there. But this movie, he's great in this movie. He plays a character codenamed Mr. Scrooge, and he's great. So if you like John Leguizamo, this was a high point for me. All right, Jordan, sounds like Violent Night is better than Batman. I think so. But it all depends on what kind of fan you are. And I think David Harbour did a great job in this. Mel Gibson does a great job, Batman. But this movie here, like I said, for my taste, oh man, I think it's better. All right, I love Jingle All the Way. That seems to be a favorite amongst a lot of people. All right, let's see. Did I skip anybody? All right, I love Fat Man. Yeah. Let me send you a link. All right. Let's. I'm gonna send it to your Facebook profile, because that's the easiest way for me. So check your Facebook Messenger, and I'm going to go ahead and send it to you there. It's harder for me to text it to you over the phone on this one. All right, Armando, I sent you the link. Okay, so let's get to some of these chats in here. Yeah, because I have not, dude. My wrestling people out there, I know you're out there. I have not talked enough wrestling, and we got Wrestle Kingdom coming up, and Kenny Omega versus Will Ospreay might be match of the year coming right out of the gate in 2023. All right. Okay. Sure. I mean, to me, Christmas has to be part of the plot and the theme for it to be a Christmas movie. Because Die Hard, if you take, you could replace that party and that theme with anything, and it wouldn't hurt the movie. It could be there. They could be there for New Year's Eve. They could be there for a birthday. Christmas. It's the setting, but it is not the theme. It is not part of the plot. It's not. It's not an interchangeable. It's an interchangeable part of the plot that the movie could go on without. Let's see. Hal Jordan. All right, William. What happens to Constantine 2 now that Gunn is in charge? I don't know. But if the JJ Abrams thing is coming about, we could have that. So I'm gonna bring in Mondo because, like I said, I don't like that. I don't like that being that big. Hey, what's going on, man?
What's up, man? How you doing? Merry Christmas, man. Good talking to you again, William.
Yeah, I'm doing all right. Like I said, I am. This is a very important stream for all of us lonely geeks that are just hanging out. I mean, like I said, I already celebrated with my family, but a lot of people are separated or whatever. So this is our time to distract them from just sitting around the fire log getting depressed. Let's talk geek.
Oh yeah, Kills asleep. I just had to finish editing the podcast. So I'm like, yeah, I'll be awake for a little while.
Yeah, like I said, this is my overnighter show. I haven't talked enough wrestling on this show. Like we've had so
real
much
fast. Can we go back to Violent Night for a second here?
Oh my God, this is my hat right here.
So I saw you a few days ago, and you told me I should watch that, and I watched it, and I was like you. So we're gonna have two movies we watch every Christmas now. One is Violent Night. The other one is Santa's Sleigh featuring Bill Goldberg.
Okay.
Have you ever seen that one?
Yes.
Okay.
That yeah, we're the sickos that we are with our Christmas traditions. But so the scene, without spoiling it for everybody, the scene I told you about. I like I said, I'm a tough guy.
Dude, I don't. It's funny. I'm gonna need you to text me what scene it is later because I can't put my finger on what scene it was.
Hold on, I'm gonna do it too.
Because there's a lot of great violence in that movie, and someone in the chat said they're not really into gore anymore. But the one thing I'll say about Violent Night, again, as a big fan of like, I love gory movies, right? But like a movie like Terrifier 2, where it's very gratuitous gore for the sake. And granted, I love that movie, but it was like, the gore is super over the top. Like the Violent Night was practical gore, if that makes sense. And they never just have gore for the sake of just gore.
It's what happens to you when you get hit by a sledgehammer. That's what your head does.
Yeah,
I was wow. Oh, my head hurts. I got to get out of here. No, your fucking head blows up. And he was swinging it, boy. And like I said, Bryan Adams in the background with the Christmas song. I was like, what the hell?
Okay, now I remember that scene. I remember what scene you're talking about.
Oh, man.
Yeah, the whole thing, like, it was an enjoyable movie. And did you watch Christmas, Bloody Christmas yet?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, and I really enjoyed that too for different reasons. But I think this is, I'm going to say it, probably my favorite movie I've seen all year. And I really mean that because the older I get, the less I am going to say, like, at the end of a movie, it's how big of a smile I have on my face. Or I should say, or emotionally how it made me. Actually, to the back, my second favorite movie of the year, because Everything Everywhere All at Once came out this year. And that movie just, that's a unreal
A24. That movie has done. That movie's going to get nominated for Academy Award. It could win.
Dude, and it should. That lead actress, unreal.
Michelle Yeoh,
unreal. Yeah. The story, unreal.
She's been around forever, and now she's finally starting to get, that top tier that I think she's deserved for like the last 25, 30 years. And it's good to see her get in there. I think Top Gun is as simplistic as Top Gun is. I think Top Gun's going to get nominated, and it could win for something.
But Top Gun wasn't a movie that Top Gun doesn't need to be, Casablanca or Citizen Kane. It needs to be Top Gun. It just
needs to check off the things. But like I said, I felt real good about that movie. But hey, so we got Wrestle Kingdom coming up, and like I was talking to you before, I have devolved into the kind of wrestling fanatic that just doesn't care about what time of day it is now. I've been watching CMLL. I've been watching stuff from all over the place. And with YouTube is a detriment to me now because I can watch old stuff. But this match coming up, these two matches coming up that are headlining Wrestle Kingdom, you have Okada versus Jay White, which I think is going to be a good match. I don't know what's going to go on in that match.
Yeah.
And then you have
those guys can't have a bad match. But the only thing I hope is the only thing I want out of those matches. My fear is always the interference with the Bullet Club. Keep that to a minimum because I want to see Jay White and Okada wrestle.
Yeah. And when they've done it that way, and it's been a great match, like the Madison Square Garden, the matches that I did not know I had coming to me when I had already committed to Wrestle Kingdom, Will Ospreay, who I think is the best wrestler in the world right now, going up against Kenny Omega. And Kenny Omega, I watched him the other night in that ridiculous match that, oh, by the way, when Best of 7, I thought that was stupid. I thought this is going to run this into the ground.
Oh, me too.
I changed my mind. I will watch these matches. Well, they found a way to make it good.
Oh my God. Every match has been different and every match has had a different story. And like I thought the week before last with the hammer to the ankle was real. Like the whole story of that match with him getting hurt and coming back was brilliant. But Omega has been, everyone's worried when he comes back from his injury, how is he really going to be? And I love the story building up to this. Me too. Because I mean, if you've ever been, I'm gonna close my door because Kel's trying to sleep and it's loud here in my office. I'm talking loud, but if you ever watch, if you ever look at, if you ever, you were in the military, right? And if you ever been physical sports or anything, when you get an injury like that, there's always something in the back of your head when you're doing anything physical, like, is this going to be where I step weird again and mess my ankle up or mess my knee up or mess my neck up, whatever. And I think sometimes you see athletes come back from injuries like that and they're never the same because of that mental block it takes. And he just kind of came back and just went for it. I thought his first match back where he was playing up the injuries and every match he got a little bit stronger, just brilliant. And dude, I don't see how Ospreay and Omega don't tear the house down. I think the only negative, and this is not anything on the performers, it's on us as fans, is the expectation is so high. And the level, what we expect out of that match is so high. If it's not a 5-star plus match, people are going to be disappointed in it.
That I think they're gonna pull it off, but we've had that situation with like FTR, Aussie Open, FPR, Briscoes, FTR, and he's like this. Can they outdo themselves? And
I think this is a little bit different, just because it's Ospreay and Omega. It's the probably two of the top 5 best wrestlers in the past 10 years or maybe ever. Let's be honest, maybe ever at this point, getting in the ring together. I think people expect 5 stars or above, and if we don't get that, I won't be disappointed. Like at the end of the day, man, I just want good matches, and good matches are good matches, and whether it's 5 stars or 5.5 or whatever the fuck it is what it is. Sorry.
But see, and here's the thing about I've dropped more F-bombs on this show. Right now, and this is the thing that is driving me crazy. When I watch all these other federations, AEW, for whatever faults they may have, I get really good matches on TV, on pay-per-view. I am not left wanting. When it comes to New Japan, same thing. The Super J Cup was great. I don't like the outcomes of some of the matches, but the matches are great. And so I know when I turn on my Wednesday and my Friday that whoever they put out there is going to give you a certain level of match. And that's the way I feel about Kenny Omega every time he steps in the ring. And Will Ospreay is like, he's done almost everything everybody else has done within a much shorter time than a lot of those guys have done.
And it's funny because the criticism of Ospreay by idiots like Jim Cornette, and I hate saying idiots like Jim Cornette because he's one of the brilliant.
I grew up with Jim Cornette.
Yeah, man. Well, he's one of the most brilliant minds ever in the history of the business. Let's just be honest. But he's so far out of touch with modern wrestling, right?
So is Eric Bischoff, but that's another.
Podcast. But I'm going to use Ric Flair as an example here. Ric Flair was talking on his podcast. I guess I didn't hear this, but someone posted a clip on YouTube where he was talking about how it was either Orange Cassidy or somebody, which he said, he goes, I don't get the gimmick. I don't get anything about it. I hate it, but it works. So I'm wrong. And that was one of the smartest things I've heard a veteran saying like, yeah, it makes no sense to me, but if it gets over, it's right. It's the right thing. Yeah, it doesn't matter. I think as a guy who's, 60 to 70 years or 70 years old. And that's what Cornette doesn't get. I didn't understand Orange Cassidy. And it took me a while to warm up to him. But the fact that he was over and people were liking him, people 20 years younger than me were into him, that doesn't mean that I'm right. It means, hey, just because I don't get him doesn't mean it's wrong, if that makes sense.
Yeah. And that match where he turned the corner for me with Orange Cassidy was the match with Pac. The one he lost. Of course. That was the turning point for me, for him.
Same here. But what I'm getting at, those for years, you have people like Cornette and some of the people, people's Cornette's followers are some of the worst because they will just sit there and act like everything he says is gospel. And the tribalism behind that, the tribalism in wrestling is really weird too. Like, we should all be thankful we're just getting good wrestling and wrestlers have places to work. But he'll start shit on Ospreay and Omega saying, "Oh, they're just acrobats, dude." Like, that shit is some of the smartest people in the world when it comes to wrestling are saying the best wrestlers in the world, right? And Ospreay over the past few years has developed a new game, which is way less acrobatic, way more storytelling, and his matches are just as good, and no one cares.
Yeah, his post, the interview he came on with right after because I was watching live when the whole Kenny Omega announcements was made while he was in the ring.
Yeah,
and he goes right into that backstage interview and cuts I sent you the link to that. That promo he cuts
great
after that match was great, and he just does it.
Yeah, he does it, and it's one of those things that I hate too is about any medium, right? If you're surrounded by a bunch of people who understand the medium, right, who are smart people, and everyone else says it's amazing, and you say it's garbage and the worst thing ever, you're probably the one that's wrong.
Yeah.
And it's okay to not like it. It's okay to say, I don't like it, right? It's not my cup of tea. It's not my pro wrestling. But to say it's bad is just asinine.
Yeah, just that's all you have to say. You're not bound to say you hate something. You can just say, like Ric Flair said, it's not for me, but it works. And that's what it's about. I mean, some of the stuff, I'm glad that they're doing stuff that they didn't do when I was a kid watching wrestling, because it keeps me watching wrestling 20, 30 years down the line. So I'm happy with that. But
is everything Tony Khan does, is everything AEW does? So AEW did that horrendous angle with Keith Lee and Swerve on Wednesday. Yeah, that was terrible, bro. Rick Ross is great, but it was a terrible angle. But it's okay to make mistakes. It's okay to try something and have it not work. But the key is, like, what do you learn from that? It didn't work. Okay, why didn't it work? Let's learn, pivot, move forward, which I think that actually Tony Khan has bought a lot of goodwill from me, because for the most part, when something doesn't work, he pivots. Remember early on, I think it was like the 4th or 5th AEW show where they did that Dark Order angle at the end of the show that just bombed. Yeah. It was terrible. So what they pivoted the next show. And that's what's important to me. I rather them try things and have them fail and then pivot than just stick to a formula that everyone says is tried and true. But if it's tried and true, how come wrestling isn't as popular as it was 10 years ago or 20 years ago? Well, a lot of that is because of star power, let's be honest. We don't have The Rock. We don't have Steve Austin. But it's okay to think outside the box and try different things. If they fail, it's how you react to that failure. That's really important.
Yeah, I got a problem. Like I said, I got a lot of problems with WWE, but there's a lot of athletes that I really enjoy watching under different circumstances.
Like my problem with WWE is so many matches are so formulaic that where I feel in AEW, you get different styles versus different styles, and the matches are different. Whereas in WWE, I feel like I can call the entire match from my couch and know exactly what's going to happen every step of the way.
Yeah. What's going on with the bloodline? How do you think this is going to end? Because it's gone on.
How should it end, or how will it end?
Both.
Okay. In a perfect world, how it would end would be Sami Zayn versus Roman at WrestleMania, and Zayn dethrones him. That's perfect world.
Okay.
Perfect world is Zayn wins the Royal Rumble. Something happens. They beat the shit out of Sami Zayn, kick him out of the bloodline, but he comes out and he wins, or he comes out number 30 after you think he's not going to make it back to the Roman. He wins the Royal Rumble and he dethrones Roman. Imagine the pop at WrestleMania if Sami Zayn beat Roman Reigns. Like, I get goosebumps thinking about that.
What do you think is going to happen?
What I think is going to happen is Cody's going to come back, win the Rumble. It'll be Cody versus Roman at WrestleMania, and Cody beats him. And there's nothing wrong with that. Don't get me wrong. There's nothing wrong with that. But I do think, man, like, Zayn is so hot right now. The group is so over. and no one expected Sami Zayn to get over doing this, right? He's supposed to be comedic foil, and now he's, he's probably the second most popular wrestler in the company next to Roman. So I think what you do is you put the most popular guy against the second most popular guy, and I think it's time for Roman to lose. Roman's beaten everybody there. I also think, because, dude, it's not like it was when we were growing up. The belt doesn't draw fans in. It's the name WWE. Doesn't matter who has that belt, to be honest with you.
Yeah. What do you think about with the tag team situation being what it is? I think they are hurting the tag team division.
What's funny, they have a lot of great tag teams too, but you just know the Usos are going to beat everybody. And I think that's a problem with Roman too, is like, they're just going to beat everybody, right? And I think what's really going to happen is they're going to do Owens and Zayn reforming a team, and they dethrone the Usos at WrestleMania. I think either way, the Bloodline walks out of WrestleMania with no belts. No, say the back. Maybe Solo walks out with the belt, but the rest of the Bloodline lose their belts at WrestleMania.
Yeah, because that needs that storyline. I liked the storyline when it first started.
Yeah, I keep track of it by watching clips on YouTube, but I can't watch the program anymore. And and it's not really a knock on anyone that loves the programming. It's just I don't have a whole lot of time throughout the week. And the only wrestling I really get to watch, I watch AEW, and I try to watch like some New Japan and some. I'm starting to get into Stardom, but I'll try to watch those matches here and there that I can pick up that I've heard are really good. But I don't have the time like I used to. So to try to invest 5 hours a week in WWE plus 3 hours a week in AEW, I just don't have that time. So I have to pick and choose. And for me, there's very rare I watch an AEW show, and by the end of the show, I haven't just been entertained. It's usually an easy 2 hour watch, and it's fun, and I'm a happy guy. Whereas whenever I travel for work, I'll have cable in the room, so I'll try to watch WWE sometimes on Mondays. I just cannot sit through a 3 hour show with all the video package, all the backstage stuff. Whereas the AEW show feels like it's always moving forward. Like there's not a whole lot.
The first match of the last Wednesday was that 6-man match. Yeah, and that match was really good. That started off the show with heavy hitting like that, and they've done that before. So, like I said, I'm having a lot of fun right now. I'm looking forward to a Wrestle Kingdom, and like I said, I'll be here with my belts, watching it, or somewhere.
I'll be working in Virginia, so I'll watch it. I have like a 9 hour day of travel on that Friday, so I'll probably try to watch on my iPad at the airport or something.
All right. Well, I got the geeks wanting me to answer some geek questions for me. So I think I got all my wrestling out of the way.
Be a geek, sir. I'm gonna hang out and keep watching it because it's keeping me entertained while I finish doing some editing here.
All right, man. Well, thank you for gracing my show with your appearance. Try to if you want to hang out, or you want to sit in the back there.
They're going to ask a bunch of questions about like Marvel stuff and stuff that I'm just not qualified to answer. If it's not horror or it's not pro wrestling, I'm pretty much in it. Or jujitsu. If you want to talk some jujitsu,
I don't think I have anybody in jiu-jitsu. Integrity 101. To me, there's a difference between a Christmas movie and a movie that takes place during Christmas time. I don't understand Batman Returns to Die Hard being Christmas movies. And you, Integrity 101, are correct. You are 100% correct. I need you to spread that religion to everybody else.
I have an opinion on this here.
All right, go ahead.
Life's too short to give a fuck if someone thinks someone's a Christmas movie or not. So I don't even care, dude. Like, if it's a Christmas movie to you, that means it's a Christmas movie.
That's at the end of the day. That's where I come out. I just think it's hilarious that is every year. The memes are funny.
Violet Night is basically Die Hard with Santa. That's really what it is. Santa is John McClane.
Yeah, man. But actually, Die Hard is, like I said, with Die Hard, I mean, I like the memes, the little ornaments that come out where he's in the duck. You can hang up on the tree. I think it's fun. But to me, if you want to watch Halloween and make it your Christmas tradition, it belongs to you in that respect. I just think the memes are hilarious. And like I said, they rib me because I make certain statements like it's not a maybe decorative replicate.
I see both sides, but I really do.
Yeah, but like I said, I'm not gonna tell anybody they're a moron. What are you, moron? He's not a Christmas movie.
Well, I think. Do you know anybody? Do you know anybody that like it's their tradition to watch Die Hard on Christmas Day?
Yes.
I honestly don't. Yeah. Oh, that's cool. Okay.
Dave Pena, who was on the vodka stream, one of the guys who I stream with every now and then, he was literally watching that and Jingle All the Way. So yeah, it was hilarious.
That's awesome. I respect that. Like, whatever you guys want to watch on Christmas, please, man.
Okay, so this is a key question that you probably won't know. And all God needs to do is say we're putting the Snyderverse into Elseworlds like Joker and the Batman, and you'll see eventually all the really, that's what they should have done to begin with. And like I said, people just don't like to have their time wasted. And if you're going to tell people, hey, we're going to start this new thing, you're asking them to take money out of their pocket for this new thing after you just kind of botched their money with the old thing. It's like me going to that restaurant and the food's not good and you want me to come back.
Okay. I can relate this to pro wrestling, William. How many times, one of the reasons why I stopped watching WWE is it would give me a character, start pushing a character I like Ricochet or like somebody like that. And I would get really behind them. I'm like, all right, we're finally going to see them take off and do something cool. And then 3 weeks later, they'd be thrown to the wayside and thrown away. Or 2 months later, I'm like, why did I just invest 8 weeks into the storyline, this character, to have it thrown away? And you're right, when it comes to any kind of medium, that if you start and people invest all that time in something, and then you just say, okay, it didn't matter, you're going to lose a lot of good faith from fans, and not just your hardcore fans, but your casual fans. That's how you get rid of casual fans. The hardcore fans will stick around. The casual fans will say, why did I invest all this time into this world, into these characters? And now it's just like, it doesn't matter. So that's a good subject of pro wrestling. With that being said, William, Merry Christmas. I'll catch you later, brother.
All right, man. Tell Kelly and the kid have Merry Christmas as well, man.
Will do, brother. Take care, man.
All right. See you later.
Bye.
So, yeah, I do agree. I do agree with this. Like I said, put it in Elseworlds. The way I would handle this would have been to, whatever you're going to do with the Flash, whatever you're going to do to reset this universe, do the same thing that the Time Trapper did in 1986 when he preserved Superboy's world so that he could connect the Legion of Superheroes to it. As everything is getting rebooted or reset, the Time Trapper takes that part of the universe that is relevant to him, and he takes it away as the universe is reforming into this new universe. All right. And then you attach and like I said, say for instance, somewhere down the line, you want to tell a Legion of Superhero story, but you don't want to lock your characters into something that happens 1,000 years from now because of what's happening in the present. So you can connect them to that Zack Snyder's world so that you can launch a whole bunch of things. It just doesn't have to be Zack Snyder stuff. You can use that Zack Snyder's world for a lot of things. What you should do is, once you've done that, wrap up that arc and keep that as an Elseworld so that you can reference it going back. If you want to do a Wonder Woman Dead Earth, you can. And like I said, we don't know for a fact that they're not thinking about this, because they haven't told us everything. So I'm going to wait. I'm going to hold out judgment, but that's the way I think it should happen. All right. Sorry for you guys who are not on the wrestling bandwagon, but you have to know, if you see my if you've seen pictures of me, you've seen me on these streams with my wrestling belts, I am a wrestling nerd. All right, instead of we get hate baiting crap. Okay, so yeah, instead we get hate baiting crap. Like I said, and the biggest detriment right now is we don't have all the information, and because we don't have all the information, we're starting to piece things together. It's like the people, the man in the grassy knoll. When you don't have all the information because it's been withheld from you, you start making your own reality, and that's almost as bad as what some of the trades are putting out, because neither side is true. All right, let's see how Jordan. I'm thinking Gunn will concentrate on the obscure characters. Hope I'm wrong. I don't think he's going to be allowed to. I don't think he would get the job if he were going to do that. I think he may bring about obscure characters, but I think the mandate, and one of the things David Zaslav had to hear when he said yes to bringing him on in this position, was that he was going to focus on the alphas. I think all parties involved realized that the last 5 years with these obscure characters have hurt the DC brand and have killed the expectations for the DC brand. So while, yes, I think he will bring about those type of characters, I think it's been mandated that he focus on Superman, Batman, Wonder Woman, Aquaman, Trinity, beyond. The Weasel Man and the Polka Dot Mans may work their way in there, and along with the Blue Beetles, but they will work their way through via these characters like it should have been, the whole time. And that gives those B characters a chance to shine, and then people will actually pay attention to them. All right, I don't know which one you guys are talking about. There's obvious agenda. That's why he's been hearing more and more when it comes to to Oscar talk. About which one, Daniel? Let me scroll back up because I might have missed you. What movie are you talking about? Let me know what movie you're talking about, Daniel, because I'm kind of late to the party here. I hate to say it, but I feel like this whole thing is an agenda to rile up the fans and keep it trending, like Gunn saying. I get storytelling. Uh, it has to be online and cool. Keep the drama up. You know what? If it ends up and it turns out that my time hasn't been wasted and they do have a plan for the status quo, believe me, wherever you want to go. All I care about is where you end up. If you're causing all this drama and then you are basically going to flush my 9 years down the drain, that's where I'm probably going to have a problem. So if you lead me on if you have me chasing my tail and I eventually catch my tail, I might give you a little bit of leeway there. All right, I'm going to roll through some of these chats. Does Jim Cornette still call Kenny Omega Kenny Olivia? Yeah, dude. You know what? Like I said, I named our new show. I renamed Open Mic Midnight Express because the Midnight Express all versions were managed by Jim Cornette, or all the relevant versions, and he was one of my favorite managers. You hear him talk, and it was like gospel. He has grown into a curmudgeon. He has grown into an intolerable, just doesn't want to give the new stuff at any time of day, and like what Mondo said, with Ric Flair just saying, you know what, I don't get it, it's not for me, but I understand why it works. And Jim Cornette has been in the business long enough to know better. Him and Eric Bischoff just need to just shut the hell up. I'm sorry. All right. I felt that when they were doing the will Snyderverse continue or not stuff too, it just seemed to be more organized. Yeah. All right. So I'm going to. Yeah, but eventually that drama has to end up somewhere. All right. Feige just tells us what's coming, and I feel like DC's half-baked responses to that strategy is you'll see that won't work this time around because we've used that strategy. So that ammo is gone. That was a 5 year ago strategy. He cannot succeed if that's the strategy. I'm feeling that they told Cavill and Johnson they can be revisited in a few years, but the way they're handling it, I wouldn't be surprised if the fans cast are if the fans and the cast are over it by then. I wouldn't be surprised if they tell them, hey, you guys are all going to come back for Kingdom Come. We're going to wrap you up that way. I wouldn't be surprised. Right now, I don't know enough to the point where I wouldn't be surprised by anything that they say. I haven't cared about MCUs in Phase 1. I haven't really cared about MCU since to Phase 2 or 3. To be honest with you, and when I look at the MCU in hindsight, I realize that there's a half of those movies that I did not see to get the fulfillment that I got, whatever fulfillment I got out of Endgame. I just did not need to be there for all that. But they led me on a chain, and I bit. So, but I'm not going to do that anymore. All right. Let's see. Yeah, and I think that the storyline hurts him. I don't think the fans will stop. I do think this was an attempt to I hope that he would have known that would have the opposite effect. Like I said, there is still information that he might put out that may change our thoughts about this. Razor Ramon, yeah, rest in peace, Scott Hall. Yeah, they really can't. The only way to quash it is to resolve it. And you'll still have the extremists out there that will always want it their way. But the majority of us, if you resolve this, will be on board for whatever you do. Yeah, like I said, you resolve it, I'm all right. I'm okay with it. Even if I don't get 100% of the things I want, if I get an ending to what I began, I'm okay. I mean, I'll compromise. Yep. Missed opportunities, and a lot of people got chased from the company because of it. I think Ray Fisher left his post up so everyone could see that it's not just Snyder fandom that's toxic, because the amount of comments calling him N-word and wishing it. Yeah. The comments that, listen, I didn't agree with the timing that Ray Fisher did that with, I know he went through some shit with Warner Brothers. And since we know who ran Warner Brothers at that time, there's no way in hell things didn't happen to him. But that wasn't the right time for that post. But that being said, the responses to his post are just crap. And yeah, it does expose the fact that everybody wants to point at the Snyder fandom, including, you know, that includes all of us and people who are raising thousands of dollars this very night for suicide prevention, you know, but at the same time, no one's calling out the clowns who, you know, who say some of the things. I'm not going to repeat a lot of the stuff. Just go ahead and read that thread. And you'll see what I mean. It's absolutely horrible, and the people who are doing it are trash. All right, the jumper, I can see that. Let's see. All right, did I reach into the chat? Okay, cool. So, all right, so I think I'm at the end here. Yeah, the strategy sucks. The strategy sucks, and like I said, they have done themselves no favor. So, all right, guys, I have reached the end of my voice tag. Like I said, tonight's stream was for you guys. Tonight's stream is because I know there's a lot of people, especially on the Midwest and the Central and, you know, Mountain and all that are sitting at home alone. And this is the time of night when those thoughts start creeping in, when you start to overthink the bad things, and all you need is a noise, even if it's my creepy Cookie Monster voice, to guide you in and say, there's a whole bunch of other shit going on around you right now. It's the holidays, and for whatever reason, if you're alone right now, it's one day. Look forward to the new year. You can always, in times like this, I will make myself available. Tonight, you know, it was Christmas Eve, and, you know, I'm at my store, but there's a lot of stuff I could be doing. But I thought it was very important to talk to the people, no matter how many of you guys tuned in or may tune in an hour or so. I thought it was important to, you know, to be here and to have that conversation with whoever was available to have it. And you know, if you guys are available to have the conversation, I'm available to start it. I'm glad we got Mondo in because, like I said, you know, his schedule really excludes him from being a lot of stuff. But whenever we get the chance to talk wrestling, me and him could talk wrestling for hours. We've gone to wrestling events together. So it's, you know, I've known him for a long time, and whenever we start talking wrestling, you know, the time could fly. So I really want to do a wrestling show with him. But yeah, tonight was about you guys letting you just, you know that, hey, it's Christmas time. Here I am. I'm by myself by choice, but I'm still here. But I know some of you, whether it be divorce, death in the family, just not making that kind of connection with people at this point in your life, or sitting at home alone. And I'm like, why not fire up the stream and get your mind off of that? Send you off to bed with a positive conversation about nerd stuff, capes and cowls and wrestlers and spaceships and shit. So that, I think that I have done that. And let me get to Daniel's super chat here. Daniel Martin, Merry Christmas, and thank you for doing the stream. Yeah, no problem, man. Like I said, thank you for the support. And, you know, like I said, these are the nights where I will always make time. And the other nights are when there's all this uncertainty. And then, like the other night with the whole Cabo situation, wasn't planning on doing a stream, but I saw so much input that was just driving the vehicle into the wall and just doing damage and connecting dots that weren't there, that I felt obligated to come in and at least give a different point of view, a what if and what do we know. Let's think about what has been said and what hasn't been said. And let's create some space in between what we think is going to happen and what's actually there. We could still end up being disappointed, but there's still room in there for things to go a drastically different direction on a dime. And moments like that, I think that, you know, especially that midnight time frame, that people need to hear something contrary to the mess and the noise and the antagonist and all that. You know, a lot of our fandom speaks from a base of being a fan, and there's nothing wrong with that at all. But you have to understand that the decisions that are being made have to make dollars and cents for a whole lot of people. Many of them will never truly understand fandoms, comic books, pop culture, anything. they're geezers with a lot of money buying up a lot of stock that get to speak on a board, and they want to see a return. So whenever we're having a conversation about any of this stuff, make sure in your peripheral vision, you got that stockholder, that shareholder, that financier in the back of your head. Because be honest with you, when it comes down to it, he could end up being the most powerful person in the room. So that's what I was trying to bring to that conversation. But like I said, when I hear echo chambers and stuff like that, if there's something I can add to it, I try to. But situations like this, like I said, I opened up my store because I liked being surrounded by people that were into the same stuff as I do. And I did that before there was an internet. The Sci-Fi Center in all of its forms precedes the internet. I opened in 1995. All right, we had the internet, but it wasn't like we had it now. You know, we had AOL chat rooms. We had the rudimentary phases of the internet, but there was no way we could gather like this. There was no way we could address issues like this. No way we could raise money like we're doing now. And there's no way we could provide a conversation like we do now. So we now have this format. I see a lot of people using it for different reasons, and those are their own. But when I'm on the air or when I'm on anybody's screen or any type of panel, the first thing I try to do is not further the damage. Because the mental state that, you know, the passion and the involvement that we have in this, we don't always have the ability to meter ourselves. All right. There's people losing sleep over what James Gunn might do. Don't do that. These movies are here to entertain you. And if you get the sense that he's not putting out something that's consistent with what you want to see, it costs you nothing right now to not engage. But I say, just wait till all the tweets are out, wait till all the announcements are out, and then we'll go from there. But as far as tonight goes, tonight was a special night. And like I said, couldn't ask for a better lead-in than Project Justice League, which is raising money for AFSP, which is, like I said, if you watch TV this last year, a lot of people are cutting themselves down in their prime. Twitch, Stephen Boss Twitch from the Ellen Show last week, 40 years old, 3 kids, will seem to be living a life, gone. And we've gone over and over and over. Jason Frank, all you know, we could stack them up this year. So for them to be doing that, you know, and for that cause to be brought to a forefront, that's good. And I consider myself as doing my part. I'm not saying you guys are on the edge. I'm not saying that anybody I'm talking to is suicidal. But this is the time of year. This is the time of night. It'll, you know, for the few or many who will come through and watch this stream, hopefully we've provided you a bridge to at least the very next day. And we'll take that next day and that next day after that as it comes. Sometimes it's just that detailed of a battle. So thank you for the support, Daniel. And that's it, man. I'm going to go ahead and wrap up the show. Merry Christmas to everybody. I do not know if I'm going to be streaming tomorrow. I may. But I knew I wanted to get this one out the way. Merry Christmas to everybody. Happy Hanukkah, happy Festivus, happy Kwanzaa, wherever it is you are celebrating at this point. This time of year, be happy with it and sit back and relax and enjoy your day tomorrow. And I will see you guys the next time I am on the air, which will probably be Monday or Tuesday. Now we got the Midnight Express going. I'm gonna set a hard schedule and start scheduling shows so that you guys know exactly where to be and when I'm going to be on. So Merry Christmas to everyone, the kids, the family. And like I said, just take inventory and what good is happening to you in life and match it up against the bad. I'm pretty sure the good will quash the bad. All right, guys. And now my outro. See you later.